we are working on a series that we are getting a lot of good feedback. And good feedback is good, don't you think, guys? Because good feedback means you're up to something good. So I'm getting a lot of really great feedback on this series on Fear Not. All right, so let's break this down. We're talking about fear not today. The word fear means fright, dread, distress, panic, worry, and unrest. Okay? So my audience today, good-looking audience today. Fright. Say fright. Dread, distress, panic, worry, unrest. So that is what fear means. Now, I don't know about you. I do not like scary movies. Okay, good. So Marcus has stopped at scary movies. I don't like scary movies because they make me scared. So fear is fright, dread, distress, panic, worry, unrest. So we're talking about fear not. The word not means this. The word not means to no degree, in no way. This is so good. Okay. On no occasion. Okay. So fear not. God is saying this in the Bible. Don't fear to any degree. Don't fear in any way. And don't fear in any occasion. How powerful is that? All right. So I'm going to talk to my golfing buddy Manny over here. So Manny, back when I was in high school, okay, there was a saying that people would say not. Okay, so like for instance, I have it written down. So someone would say, "Hey, a lot of us are going to go to the Colorado River, and we want so and so to go with us." And I go, "Really? I didn't know you like so and so." And then they go, "Not," which means no way. Okay, it's not going to happen. Are you with me? Or I would talk to a girl and I'd say, "Hey, are you and Mark getting back together?" And she would say, "Not." Okay, so not meant, again, watch, to no degree, in no way, not on any occasion. So when God is saying, fear not, he's saying, do not fear on any occasion. How powerful is that? So God, how could you tell us not to fear in the middle of a pandemic? How could you tell us not to fear in the middle of someone going through a divorce? How can you tell us not to fear if our daughter is challenged, or our son is challenged, or we are challenged? Or how could you tell us not to fear when we see financial challenges? Okay. And I'm going to tell you why he says that. He is saying, don't fear because I am bigger than the fear. So today's message and tomorrow's message, I am going to break down how God is bigger than anything you fear. And so as I tell you about how big your God is, it is going to minimize what has been in your mind, what's been in your heart, and has been in your actions. Because I've been doing a lot of research on this, and what happens, it gets in people's minds, Rebecca, and it gets in people's hearts, and then it gets in their actions. So it's a fact that when people, Marcus, are feeling fearful, then they start to make actions based on their fear. Okay? Could be in the area of not going outside, could be in the words that they speak, but I'm going to show you that God is bigger than anything you face. Now, Zephaniah chapter 3 and verse 16. It says, in that day, O Zion, it says, fear not. How powerful. Fear not. Okay? Remember what fear not meant. Okay? Fear, again, is fright, dread, distress, panic, worry, unrest. Not means. To no degree, in no way, and not on any occasion. So God's going to take me right into what I'm teaching you right here. In that day, God says to Jerusalem, fear not. Okay? You guys are my crowd today. Say, fear not. All right, so God is addressing his own people. He says, hey guys, fear not. Not on any occasion, not in any way. Fear not. He says, and also, do not let your hands be weak. I think this will be one of my best sermons that I've taught all year. Now, so I've done probably no less than 2 months of research on this because so many people are just paralyzed by fear. Okay? And so I'm going to roll this out the next few weeks. So God says, do not fear. Fear not. Now, when he says fear not, one commentary said he's not making a suggestion. He's not saying, hey, guys, by the way, consider not fearing. What he says is, as your father, fear not. Okay. Now, I have 2 children. And I remember years ago, there was a big earthquake that hit Southern California. And so my kids came running out of the room. And as the father, and the father is supposed to guide the family, guard the family, and govern the family, I basically said to my daughter and my son, fear not. And that was based on, number one, I believed that God was going to see us through as a family. It's good, right? And number two, it was based on, I'm here. That's powerful, right? Like we're going to figure it out. Now, because they were like, ah! Okay, because it was an earthquake. It was shaking the ground. They never felt the ground shake like that. So they were full of fear. But I said, basically, fear not. It was not just like, hey, consider not fearing, little kids. No, it was like a command, like, fear not, your dad's here, I got you. That's what God is saying to you. No matter what you face, your dad is here, meaning God. Your dad is here, meaning God. Fear not. So he says, fear not, my people. And, which means there's more to it. Do not let your hands be weak. That's interesting. So I started doing a bunch of research on this, and I found that when somebody is fearful, it takes them out of context. So powerful. Now, you guys are all musicians. Okay. So let's say if a bunch of stars were there, and you guys were all playing at the Grammys. You've all seen people get fearful and not play their part the way they should play the part. Is that true? Okay. So therefore, it takes them out of context. Like if they were playing in a garage, they're fantastic. If they're playing at a small club, they're fantastic. They're playing at the Grammys, all of a sudden they feel overwhelmed and it takes them out of context. Same thing with players. Somebody could be a great high school basketball player, but you put him in the college and maybe he does well. But you put him in the pros, he cannot handle everything around him, and he steps into fear, and he starts acting out of context. I believe a lot of you are acting out of context because of the pressure that is on this planet. Well, Tim, look at the racial problems. Look at COVID-19. Look what's happening with the elections. Look what's happening with the world. Look what's happening with hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, People, it's all over the world. God says, fear not. Wow, wow, wow. I got to break the word down again. Don't have fright. Don't have dread. Don't have distress. Do not panic. Do not worry. Don't have unrest. Okay, big statement, God. You're asking us who are facing all these things not to fear. And then you want to go one step deeper. And you said, and by the way, do not let your hands be weak. So you got to study hands in the Bible. The hands always talk about doing. The hands talk about accomplishing. Ooh, this is so good. When you are fearful, it makes you say, I probably can't do or accomplish. When you are fearful, you are just trying to survive. You're not trying to do or accomplish. So God says to his people, hey, fear not, command. And by the way, strengthen your hands so you can start accomplishing things. Oh, this is so good. So what's happened in COVID-19, a lot of families, they're just staying indoors, and they have not just quarantined themselves, they've quarantined their mind. They have quarantined their dreams. They have quarantined their actions. And I'm here to tell you, God has never called you to quarantine your dreams in the midst of a quarantine. God is asking you to put your hands to work and make things happen. How powerful is this, guys? So, that's why you see in the midst of a crisis, God's people rise up because we're under a different command. So a country might even command one thing, and God will command another thing. An occasion might command one thing, but God will command another thing. A circumstance of you being in a setback may command one thing, but God will command another thing. God says, hey, number one, do not fear. Number two, strengthen your hands so you could accomplish some things. Strengthen your hands because your hands are meant for action. So, a great speaker who pastored a church right down the street from here, Chuck Swindoll, Charles Swindoll. What an amazing speaker. Right down the street from here, pastored a great church. And he has a book called Strengthening Your Grip. So I did some research on his book for this message. And he talks about different things that weaken our grip. And let me tell you things that will weaken your grip. Financial pressure can weaken somebody's grip. Physical pressure, physical problems, physical ailments, okay? There's a lot of people that we're just going along with life and we get ill and something physical can loosen your grip. Emotional challenges can loosen your grip. Family issues can loosen your grip. And he didn't write this in his book because it wasn't going on back then. But I have found that a pandemic can loosen people's grips. Loosens your grip. Okay. So, when you have faith, your grip gets stronger. You get almost like a G.I. Joe Kung Fu grip. David Letterman, you guys, I love the research. I went and watched the YouTube video yesterday for this illustration. He used to do this thing called stupid pet tricks. Okay. And he had this dog, he had a stick, and the dog jumped up, and no matter how much the master, the owner, shook the stick, it just clapped. It just jaws just, okay. And would not loosen its grip. We literally have to become like that. That we do not lose our grip on what? The promises of God. Do not lose your grip on the promises of God. Do not lose your grip on what God said. Do not lose your grip that God says He is the author and the finisher of your faith. Do not lose your grip that God says you're the head and not the tail, above and not beneath. Do not lose your grip that God says you are healed by my stripes. Do not lose your grip. I can tell if you've lost your grip by even looking in your eyes. You say, why is that? It's in my notes. Because the eyes are the light and the window of the soul. Woo! You could see that the more pressure that comes to people, you could see it in their eyes many times that they'll dim. So, Marcus, because I love to study things, I was talking to somebody that was in one of the wars. I won't tell what war, but he was in one of the wars. And he said that he was not just in the war, but he was around, lines of fire. And there were people that were, having their lives devastated and lost around him. And he said, the more casualties that we saw, he said, you could see that people's eyes started to dim. And fear started to set in because they started thinking, man, that's my buddy. It could happen to me. That's my buddy. It could happen to me. And so instead of being wide-eyed, like, hey, we're going to war, when you start to see casualties of war, in this case, this is his story, he said, I could see it in people's eyes. I could see fear. This is deep. All right, so this is what we're dealing with crisis in this world. We see the numbers of COVID going up, but a lot of us have had friends that have passed from it. Or we have friends that are in the hospital now because of it. This is real, okay? And what I see as a spiritual leader and as a pastor, I see, you guys, a lot of people's light in their eyes dimming, becoming more dim. And they're thinking to themselves, if it happened to them, it could happen to me. If it happened to them, it could happen to me. If it happened to them, it could happen to me. And that is a possibility. If you're in war, if it happened to them, it could happen to you. But what about this fear not side? Wow. Fear not. Don't have fright. Don't have dread. Don't have distress. Don't have panic. Do not have worry. Do not have unrest. Fear not. Not, again, do not fear to any degree. Do not feel fear in any way. Do not fear on any occasion. God, seriously, don't fear on any occasion. This man was in a war. We're in a pandemic. The children of Israel were just getting whooped in life. And you're telling them, do not fear, number one. And secondly, strengthen your hands. It almost seems like he's being a little bit too tough on people. Why don't you just say, fear not, and go over there and rest because you look like a nervous wreck. He gives two commands, Manny, in a row. Fear not, strengthen your hands. Fear not, strengthen your hands. Fear not, strengthen your hands. How powerful is this? Now, you know why? Because somebody is going to need hands to accomplish in the midst of everything that's going on. Wow. So God many times calls people with weak hands to do strong hand duties. He comes to Moses in Exodus chapter 3 and basically says, get up, strengthen your hands and lead your people. He comes to Gideon, listen to this, and says to him in the book of Judges, chapter 6, basically, get out of the winepress. I know you're going through some weaknesses. I know you got some fear, but fear not. Strengthen your hands and get something done. God comes to people in the midst of their weakness many times and says, somebody has to have the guts to rise up and do something powerful because somebody needs to lead somebody else out of this tough position. So what a compliment that God has so much faith in you, Manny, right? That has so much faith in all of you that are watching. That God has so much faith in you that he challenges you and says, fear not. And by the way, strengthen your hands. Fear not, Rebecca. And by the way, strengthen your hands because I need your hands to accomplish something. Somebody say amen. Okay, so watch how powerful this is. It says, in that day, fear not, and do not let your hands be weak. Strengthen your hands. And then here we go today. For the Lord your God is in the midst of you. Wow, wow, wow. Okay, earthquake was happening at my house. My kids were nervous. They were very little, making noises. I said, basically, fear not. Why? Because I was basically saying, I'm in the midst of you. Marcus, that touches you, right? Because when you're a leader, to think that God has used you at times to be in the midst of a situation. Maybe there's a friend that's in trouble, but you're in the midst of the situation. Or as a man, you're in the midst of the situation. As a woman, as a mother, as a wife, you're in the midst. God says, hey, do not fear because I am in the midst. When he says the midst, it does not mean, in one translation, it's not in the outskirts. God doesn't say, don't fear, I'm way over here, I'm over here. Don't fear, I'm over here. Don't fear, I'm over here. He says, no, don't fear because I am in the center of your storm. Do not fear. I'm in the center of your storm. Do not fear. I'm in the center of your storm. But the fool left me. Do not fear. He's in the center of your storm. But I'm losing a lot of money in the midst of COVID. Do not fear. He's in the center of your storm. But Tim, I'm lonely. Do not fear because he's in the center of your storm. Tim, I'm feeling like I'm getting older and I'm losing body strength. Do not fear. He's in the center of your storm. Tim, I'm watching you from the hospital right now. Do not fear. He's in the center of your storm. Do not fear. He's in the center of your storm. The Lord your God is in the midst of you, center of your storm. And I close with this today. And he is mighty. Oh my goodness. So I broke down the word mighty. And the word mighty means this, Rebecca. Sizable in strength. Do not fear because I'm sizable in strength. Do not fear because I'm mighty. That also means I'm more than enough. So all of you that are going through something, or all of you who know somebody who's going through something, listen to this. Do not fear because God is more than enough. So when it says he's mighty, he's sizable in strength. He's more than enough in strength. He's also heroic in strength. Did you hear what I said? One translation says God, and Rebecca's going to come up and play behind me, God is heroic in strength. You know what? Some of you watching right now, you need a heroic moment. And the Bible just told you that God is heroic in strength. If you just give me the piano sound, it's just playing behind me. It doesn't have to be a song. He's heroic in strength. I see it all the time. I see people that are hurting physically, and I see them get prayed for, and I see them get healed. Do you believe that God's a healer, Tim Storey? Yes, I do. I see it every week of my life. I've seen young people in rehabs that other people have counted them out. And I've seen God get a hold of them guys, and I've seen people break heroin addiction. I've seen people break meth addiction and find such freedom. I've talked people out of really just blowing up their lives and seen them a year later and seen them worshiping the Lord. I have a friend that was dying of cancer years ago, and I was working with him. And I knew that he was getting better because he was making calls to me. But one day I was at a church speaking, and he tapped me to let me know that he was behind me. And when I looked at his face, Marcus, he was a different person. He was strong. His countenance had shifted. His eyes had shifted because he got healed from cancer. He was supposed to die. They'd given him 6 weeks to live. Do not fear, for the Lord your God is mighty, and he is very heroic. And God's going to lift you up. He's going to lift you up. He's going to lift you up. So whatever you're going through, I'm going to pray for today. No matter what your family's going through, we're going to pray for today. You might be having a great season, but we're going to pray that the great season continues and you get even stronger. And I'm going to tell you that even if you're having a great season, God's going to be more heroic. Some of you are going to get out of debt, but really get out of debt. Some of you are going to buy a second house and a third house and a fourth house. Someone's going to break out on the left and break out on the right. For the Lord your God, he is mighty to save. He's very heroic. Some of you just need to just thank him right now. You may not be what you want to be. Thank God you're not what you used to be. You're so heroic, God. You're so mighty. You're so powerful. You're so amazing, God. You're so amazing. That's what I do when I worship him. I walk around my house. I tell him how amazing he is. Hello, it's Tim Storey. I hope you enjoyed the service. If so, subscribe. If not, still subscribe. It's good.